Hello, this is lesson 2, Dreamweaver CS6. We just left off defining a site, and now we're going to be converting it to an HTML5. But before we do, one of the things that I really suggest is that if you don't know any HTML coding, before you even begin to tackle Dreamweaver, take some kind of a class on HTML. It really does help within Dreamweaver. Yes, Dreamweaver does a lot of it for you, but you really need to understand a lot of the coding, or at least the structure of the coding in Dreamweaver. So I suggest to please, think about taking a class on HTML. What we're going to do is we're going to come up to File, and we're going to come down to Convert, and we're going to come over to HTML5 and left-click our mouse. So what it does is it changes it to HTML5, which is more cross-platform compatible and a little bit more mobile compliant. It just makes it a lot easier for the mobile devices to pick up the coding on your web page. So let's take a look at the HTML, or actually the header section, and let me explain a little bit about that section. So everything that's in the header section is used by the search engines to index and to go out and to view your web page and to try to put it into its directory. There's other things in that meta that need to go in there, and I will be explaining some of those in future lessons. A lot of the search engine optimization or marketing is also put up in there as well, and a lot of the scripting, your CSS coding and your JavaScript will go up there as well. So everything within the head section is not viewable to the user on the web page. So that is something that's strictly hidden. What you need to do is you do need to put a title in, and this is the title of your website. So I'm going to select the word Untitled Document, and I'm going to give it my domain name. So what you're going to be giving it here is the name of your website, and purely for the person that's going to be landing on your web page. And what's going to happen is if they save it as a favorite, that my domain name, or whatever the domain name of your website or whatever you decide to call it, will be part of the favorites. So you need to make sure everything is spelled correctly, and think about what you really want to, how you want to convey your information. Everything within the body section is what is viewable on the web page. So you have an opening body and a closing body, and that's where you need to be. You need to be to the right of the opening body. Now when I come over to I left click my mouse on my design view, and for example I type in welcome, okay, it shows up in between the body, but you always have to make sure that you're within the body tag for it to show up on your web page. Let's take a look at a little bit of the overview of the interface real quickly. So across the top you have your menu, okay, with many commands. One of the things you want to really be cognizant of is the window. So if you left click on the window, everything that has a little check mark next to it means that that panel is open up on the right hand side. So right now I have a few panels that are open up, and that would be on this right section here. In the upper right hand corner, right now by default, it says Designer. So if I click the little down arrow, the Designer view or panels open up by default. If I didn't want that view, I can always change my view, and it really depends upon when you start working with Dreamweaver what you're going to be using as your main tools within Dreamweaver. And once you start working with it, you'll really get a feel for what is the easiest to work with, and what code is the easiest to work with, depending upon the kind of website that you're designing. So for example, if I choose Classic, you can see that now I have a lot of information that comes across the top here, as opposed to going back to Designer. So it's purely up to you which one you like, and you can always reset by choosing Designer and then reset if you have things that land in places that they shouldn't. Right now I'm going to just take a look at, I explained in the last video about code split design, and you do have something called Live. So when I choose Live, this is what it's going to show up on the website. So it tries to give you the best viewable answer of what it's going to show up like in your browser. In order for you to continue, you must uncheck live, because if you try to edit your website and live is checked, it won't work and things will go awry, so to speak, so it becomes very frustrating. To the right of that, you have what's called in CS6 multi-screen preview. So it will allow you to preview in different settings. For example, smartphone, a tablet, or full-size desktop. So this is very, very helpful and new in CS6. To the right of that, you have your preview and you have your different browser settings. You can download different browsers, your Firefox or your Chrome. Just make sure that your computer can handle it, and obviously make sure that you download it from a reputable site. And that can also be put by choosing Edit Browser List, and you can put that right in this drop down. So that's very helpful as well. Down at the bottom right hand corner, you have your smartphone view, your tablet view, and your desktop view. These are just some of the basic things, but make a huge difference in how you're previewing your web page. When I left click back into my design view, notice that my properties panel shows up below, and here's where I can change some of the attributes and formatting of my design. In this case, I want to change the format, for example, to welcome, and I want to change it to, for example, heading 1. So there you go. Heading 1 shows up, and it shows up with a larger font and the default font of heading 1. I hope this gave you a little bit of an overview of Dreamweaver Lesson 2, and now you need to go on to Lesson 3.